So I was trying to decide where I wanted this particular subject to go. I have several shows, as you know, here on JLJ Media, where I'm there to help the person of a certain age, because I am of a certain age, and we're all going to get to a certain age if we're lucky. And so I decided on this. I said I'll put it on this show, 50 plus, because you know what we do here on this show is I'm here to assist and help and just give you stuff to think about for those of us who are 50 plus. And then those of you guys who are under 50, you should still watch because it lets you use some stuff for for later. But my guess simply is someone who has a framework that's set up to like help assist people find their next act. Some people call it the third act, later act, whatever the names you want to call it. The reality is, in some cases, you need to change a job situation, or you're forced to, or maybe you just want to, and you don't know where to start. Okay, I'm gonna read his bio. Give me a little bio here. I hope it's all correct. It says, after a long career in private and public sectors, consulting stints with Ernst & Young, Deloitte, you know those names, folks, consulting, and a master's degree in management from Salve Regina University, my guest and a select group of advisors developed Emplana. We'll talk about what that is, a career pathway. Emplana Career, based at Cambridge Innovation Center, primarily helps seniors. That's who we is. We're seniors. Discover their next chapter. And white collar professionals, especially in tech, finance, services, accounting, law, risk, and professional services. We all went to school, we all got our degrees, we all had these other jobs, and now it's time for us. You want to continue that knowledge and keep sharing that and make some money. He's saying that he may have a way to help you do that. Help me welcome Michael Dwyer. Hi, Michael.
Thanks so much, James.
My pleasure to have you on. I was open with an opening statement. And to get people in here, people to watch this and listen to this thing, because we have audio and video on here. Is it ever too late to start over or start anew?
Never too late. I'm a hearty believer in that. But, I would like to share a finding that I actually paid for a few years ago.
Please.
Thank you, James. I did a marketing strategy study with a Boston firm that got one of these Best in City awards within the last few years. And they ran some focus groups. And what was an extraordinary finding to me was that people, when they want to go to the gym and get in shape, figure they're going to hire a trainer. But what came back from the focus groups, that my career and job search should be the Marlboro Man, a solo endeavor. And to me, that is so backward. If ever there's going to be a time for community, collaboration, personal board, it's when you're doing these kinds of explorations. Well, thanks for the nod. My wife would say, don't encourage it.
Don't encourage them. Exactly. I think my friends and family would tell me the same thing. Our heads will get big or something. I don't know what they're talking about, Michael, at all. We're just trying to help. That's all we're trying to do.
That's really the case.
No, but yes, I like that, and the other big statement I kind of want to make is that it's okay to ask for help, right? People don't know. I mean, I'm saying you should go to emplanacareer.com, and sometimes we get to a certain age, we're afraid to ask for help for various reasons, right? That's part of it also. So I'm encouraging them to ask for help, and I'm assuming you're thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and I'd even go a step further and say, we're always happy to talk to somebody. I'm busy putting some free calendar sessions on the website somewhere over the next month or two. But you know what? What I'd really like to talk about is, how do you form that personal board? How do you turn to your community? How do you harvest what you've done? And then look outside and see where it fits and get some new ideas. So, the purpose of this, to join with you today, James, is not so much to try and find a few more customers or clients for Emplana Career, but really to share what we do, because I think a lot of people, with a little bit of help and, some comfortable conversation, might say, you know what, I get the idea. I'm going to start trying some things.
Yeah, folks, I'm glad that Michael said this. It's not a sales pitch. It's a conversation, which I always do on my shows. It's a conversation. This is what I do. And that's why I came with those first two questions. These like they like the general, so we're already saying it's not too late. You have skills in you that still can be useful to someone. But you may not know where or if where to find that. And you said my keyword community. I call it the village. Uh,
Yep.
I call it the village. It's very much they're your resources,
Yep.
and you have to figure out, because let's be very honest, Michael. We can do this very clear. Right now, the employment landscape is daunting. We were saying that before the show
Uh,
came on, right?
Horrific. I can tick off one Wall Street Journal headline after another.
Yes,
CEOs proudly boasting about headcount.
yes,
New comp sci grads,
yes,
7% unemployment, just one
right,
after the other.
right.
And then, you be either end of the age spectrum, either a newbie trying to get that first one or an older. And it is a challenge. And yet, at the macro, it's daunting. But if you're nimble and working with people and thinking and trying some things, I believe there's a way to go forward.
I do too. No, I do too. Nothing is. I mean, as long as you wake up and you're breathing, you can get there. It may just be a snap of your finger, but you'll get there if you just with persistence and perseverance. And tell us, it's a good segue. So I just want to give give a little context about Emplana. Can you tell us like, kind of what you guys, and then we'll go into some of the core principles and stuff like that.
Sure. I mean, the company started the idea started 15, 17 years ago.
Oh,
It was actually formed in 2018. James, you've been around the block. I'm sure people have asked you to look at their resume.
yes.
Well, somebody I knew, a middle manager from banking who used to be a client of mine in another life, asked me to look at their resume in this one, and something new happened.
Oh,
Uh, they were at the time they may be late 50s, and two things were new. One, I found myself saying, you know, you can go about this as is, but maybe you should stretch for one executive role before you leave. Or maybe you should consolidate and do a line professional, be an analyst that you could nail. And that was fun. Then the other thing that happened, I don't know why, I started experimenting a little in my mind and saying, you got project management skills, financial services and banking. What could we talk about adding in the way of skills that would put a couple of new tiles in your mosaic that might move you a little bit? So that was a new thing. Instead of just doing what I was asked, change
yeah.
the grammar, highlight this. Instead, it started to be a conversation about, should you try and get one last executive role? Should you, do something a little more safe, if you will? And it turned out to be a really good conversation.
Well, Michael, I have several other shows on here. I have an insurance podcast, I have a medical podcast, and we have talked about there are certain industries that actually your life and work experience and your resume, even though it wasn't set for that particular specific industry, can actually work in that industry,
That's right.
right?
Well, absolutely.
So,
There was
yeah,
a there was a time 20 years ago when the HR people were looking for cross pollination, when
yes,
schools were getting
I
superintendents
remember
and
that.
principals from business.
Yep.
I don't know what's wrong with us that we don't do that anymore. So you have to do it. The individual has to be,
Mhm.
and that's where you need your community, village, personal board,
Yes,
that brainstorming. So, with your
yes,
permission, I'm going to talk about a dynamic that I recommend. Here's how to
please,
go about it.
yes, let's do that.
So, first thing you do, it's an iterative dynamic. It's
Okay,
got two major parts, and you can jump on the wheel anywhere and just start going around the track. The first thing is harvesting your past.
okay,
What I want people to do is look through some emails and everything we do today. You got to make sure the internet doesn't lead you down any rabbit holes, right? When you start looking at stuff, when you think, I'm a big believer in time management, time boxes, whatever you want to call it. So give yourself a Saturday, whatever it takes. I don't care if it's an hour or a week. look, or a day, probably a day, look through some old things. And what you're looking for are nuggets to say, I used to do event planning, or I've always meant to look up that person, or, that company interested me. I wonder what's going on out there now. Please excuse me. So the first part of the dynamic is discovery of yourself. It's harvesting your past. Then the other part of the dynamic is looking outward and saying, where could that play? And there's nothing wrong with finding something new when you do that external look and bringing it back to what you've done. So there's your dynamic. So
Like,
far, so good.
yes, I'm there. I'm there. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking through my old path, and I'm just applying it to me right now for this exercise. Like, okay, got it. Okay.
Well, James, and you'd have a lot. You'd need more than one page,
Yeah, I do.
whether it's
I need a week.
electronic.
I need a week to go through my thing. I
But
live
the
several
idea is,
lives. Yes.
once you have that going, the other thing too is, I mentioned time management. I think we're all familiar with the financial guys, the investment concept of portfolio.
Yep.
I need some fixed assets. I need some equity. I need some short duration, some long duration. Part of this exercise is saying, you know what? Should I continue what I'm doing? Should I make a change? And that change can be micro incremental, or it can be wholesale. But that depends on your financial circumstances. A lot of times in this age group you're describing, a 50 or a 60-year-old can have teenagers to pay for college, or they can be all done. It's,
Yes.
the circumstances vary so widely.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
I think what's new and different, and I've actually done this. This isn't something that I'm just, throwing out there. There are some wonderful gig and engagement job boards out there.
Yes, there are.
Upwork, Fiverr. I
Yes.
have hired people off Upwork, and I have put people on Fiverr.
Me too.
And once you've been through that, you start saying to yourself, I mean, the sound we always want in these exercises is, huh, that's interesting. I could do that. And
Yes.
so as you're sifting and looking through your biography and your career, as you get things that you want to explore, one of the things you can do is say, how do I match against some of these job boards? Is there something I could offer? And maybe you're looking on Indeed or Zip, and you're really looking for the whole monolithic job.
Right.
Great. But maybe you're looking for something that you could do as a part timer, a toe in the water. And what's really cool about these things is they're pretty easy to get going. Um, on Upwork, I'm on both as an employer and as an individual, just for an exercise.
Yeah.
And that is so informative because, you know, when you read what people are doing, you see a range of hourly rates of how they offer things. So I've talked for a few minutes here. Let me be quiet and listen to the host for a minute.
No, I love it.
How's this shaping up, James? Is the idea of how to do this exploration making sense?
Yes, because also I took some notes. So I was writing down, especially here in California and Los Angeles, gig work is very big. We call it. So I have a lot of older people who they semi-retired. I put in air quotes. Folks, you can't see me at home. I'm air quoting it. They didn't officially retire, but they kind of retired out of that main thing they did for 30 years. But now they're doing stuff on the side to make up for whatever money they need to make. This age group, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I always say there's a change of life that happens usually around this age group. Either adult children, college, grandparenthood. It also could mean downsizing. You don't need that huge house anymore, or can't afford it. I mean, let's just get real. Maybe you can't afford it anymore. Um, Death of a spouse. So you have widowhood, divorce. You're back out there again to figure it out. I feel like there's a lot of things we've talked about on this show over the years that we've talked about that I think also play a part. So I'm glad you said that. It's like this is a unique time. It's like, I mean, it's for our ages. We feel like we know stuff because we've lived 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. Like we know stuff. So we're not the young, bright-eyed innocent anymore. That bushy-tailed optimist that I was back when I was in my 20s. Like I could change the world, that kind of thing. I'm not saying it went away completely, but you know what I mean. Like you live some life, you feel some disappointments, you live some life. In terms of jobs, you've worked some jobs that were crappy. You had some jobs that were wonderful, or you learned about yourself. Maybe that one job was your identity, and now it isn't anymore. Right? I think all those things play a part. Right, Michael?
Oh my goodness. You didn't just set a context, you set a universe of them. That's exactly right, James. And that's why this business of, wait a minute, if I'm willing to hire a trainer to get in shape, it's not so much you need to hire somebody, but get that community, that village. And let's talk a minute about how to go about that.
Please.
I was helping somebody who was very sophisticated. I mean, literally a PhD, a fellow in a
Okay.
professional association, but they get laid off from the university and they haven't looked for a job in 40 years.
Right.
So I started telling them all these things and trying to get them fired up. And the person said to me, and this is sometimes where you need somebody who's willing to push back at you. What the person said to me is, yes, every Monday morning I get together with several other women who've been unemployed for a while. And my, I'm sorry, that's not what I'm recommending.
Yeah.
I want some people, when you think about a personal board, let's use that terminology for
Okay.
a minute because it's business focused. Even though I understand I'm good with the community, the village, however you call it, but
Yeah.
personal board. Somebody I admire recently was talking to me about how, yeah, one or two of those people in your personal board might even not know what you do for a living, but they know you well enough to know, James, that's too timid, or wow, James, that's a big reach. How are you
Yes.
going to do that? And that's not unfriendly.
No.
That's healthy. And then again, unlike the person who said, I'm going to go find some more unemployed people, I think what you want to do is find some people who can answer some of these wonderful questions. I always say to people in networking, don't do a big ask. Don't say, get me a job. Say, what should I be studying? What's emerging in our sector? That's flattering, it's achievable, and surprise, surprise, you get a little of those conversations going, and we might get to that sound I like so much. Huh.
I'll tell you, Michael.
And
For me, I always used the phrase, "Just get me in the room. I'll handle everything else." Like you don't have to, like, say, you don't just give me a job. Just I want to earn it first of all. I mean, I want to earn anything I get, but like make the connection. Send the email. I'll talk to them and I'll go from there.
you know what, James, you're really helping me. You're helping pull this right out of me. Let's talk about that. I literally I have a small course. In fact, Steve Dubin. He and I have delivered it
Yes.
a couple of times as a
Yes.
seminar. I have a small course about professional networking that's been approved by the Commonwealth of Mass for reimbursement. So, what did you say? Have some things in place. One of the things that's in that little workbook is taking a nice, frank assessment of where you are on networking. If you're James, give me the room, get out of my way. Man, I'll throw a few ideas, this and that, but let's get out of the way. He's good to go. Now, what if you really don't have that comfort level? Well, I'll tell you, there's a little table in this book of ours that says on the left hand side is, how mobile, how scripted. Maybe you start off with a lecture in a topic you want to learn more about, a skill, and that's nice and safe and seated and scripted. And afterwards, there's a chat. Okay, see how that's pretty easy entree as opposed to the way you describe it, James. I just picture you jumping in, Chamber of Commerce, you know, professionals over whatever. I mean,
That's
you're not going to be shy in the side.
I've never been
Um,
shy. I've never been shy. Apparently, my mother said never, so I don't know what that means.
well, if people are like you, we'll give
Yes.
them a few thoughts about where they should be going. But if
Yes.
people don't have that, what they can do is do this kind of starter kit that says, how can I do something that feels relatively safe, that's a little bit scripted? And I'll give you a real world example. I can't tell you how many of my accounting and financial friends that I really admire, but who are terrified of technology.
Yes. Love
And
those. Yes.
right, and if I say to them, build or buy about software it's a business concept, and you don't have to be a technologist to weigh in and say, could we buy something that's a product off the shelf that whatever our need is at this business, or should we build something custom, which is going to get you, going to be fitted much more, but it's not one, two, three like those conversations. I don't want my accounting and finance friends to be afraid. So what do you do about that? Well, I think whether it's spending some money on a course at something prestigious, like I know MIT will charge you 5 grand. I've done an MIT course
Oh, you have? Okay.
on yeah. What I did is I went out and got AI, their Sloan School 5 or 6 years ago, business implications, and it was really worth the money.
Okay, good.
But maybe you can find a small or medium of that at a local college, a professional group. When that accountant goes to a CPA briefing on AI or cloud computing, it's in a nicer setting. So I think what, for someone who's as confident as yourself, maybe you don't have to be quite so intentional and all that. But for somebody who's not as confident as James is, maybe you take a little time to look around at the setting, the topic. This new terminology I've been throwing around the last month or two, topical networking. What's that? That's when you go someplace and meet people, but it's really to talk about a specific skill, a specific sector, and that solves two problems. One, you get to find things out, but two, you're not part of the great bot exercise that we're all living through. You're looking at human beings in the eye, and whether that's after a lecture or whether it's more of a free form, a drop in or a meetup, that's for you to decide. So again, here I've talked for a few minutes.
I love it.
The world has taught me shut up for a
No, I
second.
love it. I love it. No, but here's what I'll piggyback off you. I want to just let you people know also, though, at the same time, I have a lot of letters after my name. If you go on my social media, you'll see I have a lot of letters because I believe in education. I do believe in I don't know everything. And so if I want to know something, I'm a go-getter. I go to learn it. So like you, I've taken courses at Cal State LA or at UCLA. I've done a course here and there. Didn't go to the school there. I went somewhere else. I mean, I have degrees and everything, but it was like, but for coursework and for things I want to learn about for something, I'm gonna learn about it. And most of the time, the money it's worth it. Most of the time, I want people to know it's worth it. Sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is because I believe in the education never stops. So when I do go in that room, I do ask questions. So trust me, I do ask questions beforehand. Who should I talk to? How should I talk? Like I do ask all that stuff. I want people to know that I want people to know that we want you to be confident to go into that room. That's kind of what you're doing with people. You're trying to get them to be confident at some point, well armed. We want them to be well armed. So when they go in somewhere, the topical network, I like that word. You fit in. It makes sense.
Yes, and whether you want to do that in a setting, my wife and I watched the U.S. Open final yesterday. There's a big difference between a tennis lesson at the local
Oh,
club versus being on national television. So pick your setting. Don't get something that's absolutely
right.
electric where
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't
Right.
know how to, where you now a more experienced networker might say, like James already, I can see we put you down in the middle of the Chamber of Commerce or anywhere else, and you'll come out with business cards, friends, and
Yes.
something to talk about. But
Yes.
in order to get to that point, for those who aren't currently there, and this is important for seniors, especially if you've been out of the game for a while, you haven't had to look for a job, ease into it. And the things we're describing now are kind of approaches or techniques that let you put your toe in the water and do it in kind of a safer way. Another thing you can do is ask to go with a buddy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The buddy system. And I do want to say, and I'm glad you're touching on this. We talked on his show too, folks. The last time I actually looked for a job, I mean, it goes by fast. I mean, I'm telling you, folks. The last time I applied, like officially sent in a resume and applied for a job, I want to say was 1997 or 98 because I went through a temp agency at that time, and then I got a job through the temp agency. I got a job at Morgan Stanley. Back then, it was Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Back then,
Oh my goodness, I
I'm,
remember.
I'm, I'm, I told you I'm kind of old now. I know. So it was Moist St. Winter, and then I left there and went straight into I got offered a job. I didn't even have a just in my resume. I got offered a job with an insurance firm, and then I was there, and then I came to LA 18 years ago to start my own business. So I want to tell people it's so easy if after 50 to have said, well, the last time I had a resume was like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. You said that 50, like it go 20 years ago. You're going, the last time I looked for a job was 20. It really is daunting. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm telling you, it can be very debilitating because you're thinking they don't want my old ass anymore. I mean, I haven't gone in for an interview and like what do I wear? Like, I mean, it's like these are real things for us of this certain age of if we had regular jobs or gigs for a long time. That even though we were raised, I'm Gen X, we were raised to have interviews and resumes and wear the power ties. I remember the '80s. I was all that. But I'm just saying, but after, when you've done something for a long time and you've mentioned it here, so I'm glad you have things in place to help people kind of get reacquainted with the. I'm sure the culture has changed a little bit too, obviously, in the last 30, 40 years. But it goes by so fast, Michael. I'm seriously, I'm thinking right now, going, last time, I mean, it was the '90s. Last time I actually had a resume and sent it out to
Well,
people.
yeah, and our context has changed. I'll tell you what, the latest thing I'm seeing in the business press, and this one's going to get this one's fantastic
Okay.
and unpleasant. Latest thing I'm seeing in the business press is employers complaining about how AI is helping candidates improve their skills.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
wait a minute. So are we just playing a game where, one side of the table puts things out there with AI and the other side of the table rejects them with bots? I mean,
Right.
what good
Right.
is that? So that's why I'm so keen on networking,
Yeah.
skills development that involves being involved with people, finding a community, putting together a personal board, and also being figuring out and then run around that stuff. Because if you put a skill out there on something you're confident you can, let me give you an example of a specific skill I helped someone put out on Fiverr.
Okay.
I do some work with a local university career office. I hired a couple of grad students for a project, I don't know, 8 years ago or something. And now I do job shadowing, a little mentoring, but it's just as good for me as it is for them. And one of the people I had was her elevator pitch needed a skyscraper. She had so many things going on, so many things she wanted to do. And I finally said to her, pick one thing you could put on one of these gig boards. And to her credit and to my delight, she did. And she got a year's worth of work. If you're familiar with marketing, this concept of brand persona, once you've segmented a market, then you populate it, you anthropomorphize it. So, let's see, Margaret is the stay at home 40-year-old teacher. The kids are back in school now, and I want to re enter the workforce. She actually did gig work off Fiverr for a year doing brand personas. But I think whether you're 25 or 75,
Yeah.
if you've got those skills, I love that story because it does it do you have to spend money or do hard things to get that little profile out there? Not whatsoever. So what you do is you chat this up, you look back what you've done. Do I have an old client who could actually leave a comment for me that I've done something like this? Can I get a small testimonial to help see the process? But to me, some of this stuff you mentioned, I think you used the word daunting. Instead of just getting beat up, I really want to see healthy activities, shots on goal, as the hockey players call it. Stuff that's good for us to be doing, is a little exciting to try, and changes the dynamic.
I I work in the entertainment business, obviously. But also, I work also in private sector personal care as a professional organizer and as a life coach. In both, what I learned, Michael, it's people get jobs, they hire you because of how you make them feel. Um, they may not remember exactly what you do. If you do something wrong, they'll remember that. But if you generally are good at what you do and they hire you over and over again, usually it's not just because of your skills. They can find somebody else with skill. There's many people who can do. I mean, the thing is, I'm humble enough to know I'm replaceable. Anybody can host a show. I'm not saying they're good. I mean, I'm really good, but I don't. But I think but I can be replaced. It's because, like you said earlier, oh wow, James, you're kind of charming. You're kind of it's how I make you feel while you're here. It's like you're my house. I'm hosting a show. I invited you in. So when I do media events on red carpets, they remember you like, oh, it's James like JLJ Media. We love him. Get him like it's not so much my talent. It's not so much what I can. It's how you make them feel. And I think a lot of us who are older, we have a lot of experience, a lot of life experience, and personal relations and work relate. We know how to act at jobs. It's like I just want people to realize that that's an asset, also, very much.
It, it really is. And what I think part of this thing, part of why you want people around you, and I'm pretty big on intergenerational. Like I say, I surround myself, with grad students and the like. One of the things that I think is tricky for a senior, especially if you're reentering the workforce, all of a sudden everybody around you knows Slack or Teams or some other collaborative
Zoom,
tools,
like everything, all this
whatever.
stuff. Yeah, all this stuff. Yes.
Yeah. And that can be daunting. Another thing too is, well, let's talk. I'm going to talk two things here then. As the senior approaches, let's say this person does get a full-time job or wants one, and they want to start. They want to start whether they're ready for an interview that's very lifelike or whether they're actually it's day one. I think there's a couple of things you want to do. Part of this networking, when I talk about topical networking, what do you need? And if you don't know Teams or Slack, get a buddy, get a trial copy, and organize a golf tournament. I mean, I remember one time a few years ago, a Friday night, we were having just one, we're older now, just one beer, maybe two. It's a little calmer now than it used to be.
I understand that.
And
I do. I totally understand that. Yes, I understand that.
and my friends were saying they were talking about AI, and they really got a pushback out of me because one of them said I read an article, another one said I talked to the IT guy. They said, "Why the hell didn't you download it and try it in your work?"
Right.
And you're not allowed to do it at the office after hours. Pose a couple, you know, there's free trials for Chat GPT or
There is.
Cloud or Gemini. Try this stuff. And so part of this is how to engineer safe entree, whether it's networking, like we talked about a few minutes ago, or wow, it's been a while. How am I going to feel coming in? So you can get comfortable with the tech with a little bit of trial. That's the first thing.
But here's,
Second, go
but
ahead.
before you go there, I just want to pick back up that for a second, folks. Also, ask your grandson, your granddaughter, your kid. I'm dead serious. I'm like, I have
Absolutely.
my granddaughter. They're raised on these tablets and stuff. I mean, here, help me do, and they will help you. Okay, Grandpa, well, I'm Papa Jamie. Okay, Papa Jamie, here you go. I set up your thing. Let me show you how to do it. Because I'm a person who believes in surround myself with people of all ages also. Because the kids show me stuff all the time that I don't know about. So I just want to say that. I just want to jump in and say that. Talk to your family members. I mean, younger family members.
I love it. And part of this is, again, I mentioned earlier about rabbit holes and stuff. I think you want to be pretty intentional in everything you do towards career. So part of this is you don't need to go learn every technology is out there.
Right.
What you need to do is say, I understand that many organizations do collaborative work via Teams, Google Suite, whatever, Slack, and I'm going to go learn one of those well enough, even if it's just to organize a party or a golf tournament. At least you go from what is this to, my sense of it is, or I noticed that changes the talk, it changes the dynamic, gives you a talking point. Second thing I think is how to leverage experience in a setting. One of the things you want to really avoid, especially if you've been out of the workforce for a while, I noticed that after about 90 days, people sort of lose the cadence and there starts to be war stories and tangents. A lot of this stuff
It's
is
a
about 30
point.
second, right? And what I think you want to use your experience for is not to try and tell an impressive war story because it might not be relevant, but to think through and say, when I saw something like this before, even if it was a different setting, what did we have to watch for? What did we have to clean up afterwards? That's a great use of your experience. And that's going to lead you to relevance more than just trying to hope that some multi-minute story you tell is going to impress anyone.
Well, I got to pick back off that too. I agree with that completely. But and that's something that we have to watch as we get older. We're used to being in positions where we tell stories a lot,
Right.
and so we have to you have to find a way. Um, as a professional organizer, we're on to productivity. Like you said, they don't use time management. They use productivity. Other words they use, but that's all the same thing. We're all about how can we be efficient. And in the business world, especially nowadays, everything's quick, fast, and hurry. We're not here to sit there and listen to your, like you said, listen to your 5-10 minute war story about what happened 20, 30 years ago. Nobody cares. Sorry, they just don't.
Right.
But they will listen to a nugget you have,
Right.
and that could be in a story, it could be in a short story, like we just done on the show. You're like, James, can you share this little quick story for you? That's people listen. People will listen to that. I go,
Right.
oh, it was like that once. Oh my, oh my, oh my God, that's what it is, and that's just the reality. I just know I have had to shorten my pitches and my words in some meetings because I was like, oh yeah, their eyes are glazing over. Let me let me wrap this story up. Let me watch myself because a lot of times people like to talk, and if you have been out of the sector for a while, you're used to just talking because you have all the time in the world. You got to cut to the chase. You got to trim
Right.
the fat, cut to the chase. You got to get to the point. You can still have valuable stuff in there. Just got to find a way to say it right in a way that's just yeah.
I think we're making great progress here. Another thing I think too is that depending on whether the right thing for you is to start the dog walking business so you can write your novel, or whether it's to come back to work and get a bigger position or get any position because you want, because 2008 did too much damage to the portfolio, or maybe it's time for you to try that nonprofit, to
Right.
take your experience and say, finally, I'm going to do something. I have my office spaces in what's called a co-working space.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
you're familiar with those.
Yes.
We're looking at 300 companies,
Yeah.
and they range from immigration attorneys, nonprofits, to an insurance tech platform, a cancer researcher. I mean, it's kind of cool. And, there's this whole world out there. And I think that part of this reacclimation is venue. So you and I have touched on a bunch of good things, but also where, forget about just throwing my resume in. Let me put the resume thing to bed. If I have razor sharp, fresh MBAs who are telling me they put 200 cover letters out there, and they're so smart that they varied by keyword on the job board
Right.
to try it three different ways, and they got no nibbles, let's not kid ourselves. Throwing resumes out there is unlikely. You might get lucky, but maybe you
There
get
you go.
over. But much, much better are the things we're talking about. And part of this is, when you take that university course or go to that business meetup, or go to an open house at a co-working space or a company or that something that's doing something you think is fascinating. I mean, whether it's drones or 3D printing, let your mind go a little bit. And if you're fortunate enough to have a job, then use that as a base. I think when you have a job, you should do two things: use it as a funded platform that lets you look around, and then take what you see that interests you and bring it back to the job and say, huh, how could, let's say I'm going to open up my own show. Maybe I better talk to those marketing guys. Maybe I better know a little bit more about my small company finances. And I think that's such a great dynamic. And again, you and I are aligned in the sense of we don't want people getting beat up. We want people to be healthy and looking up and ahead.
Yeah. So, but we also wanted to be armed with the knowledge that it might be a little uphill battle or at least a slight incline. But it's not impossible. That's our whole point. Is that
That's
I
right.
just think that we do it to ourselves sometimes. I'm old, I'm tired, nobody wants me, blah blah. And then you find examples of that just because you're thinking that way. So all of a sudden you see example, like you said, rabbit holes where we don't want seniors. Go back, go to Palm Springs or go live in Key West and just like die out there. It's like, no, you stop. There's a lot of us who like to work, and there's many of us who have to work. There's two things going on there. So it's like I just want from this conversation to tell folks, why I do this show every week. It's just like, it's not over. It ain't over till it's over. It's not over by any means.
Yes, and I think you and I sort of are doing a handshake here that you have a right to work, whether that's a right to give back, to get
Yes.
income, to get out
Yes.
in the playing field. And you do need patience. One of the things, I don't play hockey, but I love the idea, the concept of a shot on goal, because what it teaches us is a hockey team that takes good shots on goal, gets three and might win. And if our mindset is, I'm going to keep setting up good shots on goal, and just like our real estate person will tell you, it only takes one buyer. Um, you might have an odd house, you might have something that doesn't fit for everyone. You just need one buyer. It's a combination of putting together a good try, getting out there. Steve Dubin, as you mentioned before, he always says, get out in the traffic lane, and I think that's good advice. And I think it's pretty similar to what you're saying too, James.
I will wrap this up with a quote. I'm going to name drop. Everybody, hold on. My late friend Ed Asner, 9-time Emmy winner Ed Asner, who passed away a few years ago. We became friends. Very honored by that friendship. He's been on my show many times over the years. He had one of the things he said to me, James. He worked till his 90s. He worked up till he died. I mean, he was working constantly. He always said to me, "If you stay on the road, you'll eventually hit stuff." Meaning not in a bad way, but meaning like you'll get to the gas station, you'll get to the store. Like his whole
Right,
point
right, right.
was he never took the turn off. He stayed on the road, so
Yep,
eventually things will come up. And I
that's
thought,
exactly
so
right.
far as a 9-time Emmy winner who worked till his 90s, he must be telling the truth.
That's a great summary, James. Thank you.
Michael Dwyer, thank you for coming on the show. You have to come back. I think you have to come back. We got to talk some more. I think you are. I do a 5-hour podcast where nobody would listen. I think, but you have a great. I can feel your empathy. I can feel your experience, and I think this is going to really value my audience who listens. So thank you.
Thanks a million, James. I'm so glad you're doing this show.
Thank you. So tell folks. I mean, I'll have it in the description, folks. But I always give people a chance to promote where they can find you, your company, however you want to do that. So please tell people.
Well, up on my name on this thing, you see emplanacareer.com, and there's a submit form there. And send something along. We'll see it. We're all, me and my grad student, or right now I have an intern. Whatever we do, we're doing full time work, but we'll catch up day or two, and we always respond. And we love to talk to anybody. I'm not eager to turn on the meter, as we say in the business. If you think you need a series of consultative meetings or something, let's fine, happy to do business. But lots of times a 30-minute chat can get here's who you should talk to, here's some starting points, and it's good for me. And I guess what I'd say to you now, James, is after a couple of years of really spending time with career office and different things, networking course, right now for client work, I'll work for testimonials.
I like that. And actually, folks, that's actually very important. You want to have stuff out there, people saying good things about what you do. That's
Isn't that
very
so
important,
critical?
folks. That's very important. Yes, I mean, even in our business, it's very important.
Right.
I'm James Lott Jr., JLJ Media founder and CEO, of course, host of this, who started my life over, I said many times over in my 40s, 50s, and even mid 50s. I started my life over, or pivoted. So it's possible. JLJ Media is everywhere you want it to be. I'm everywhere you want it to be. I'm everywhere. Just type my name in, it'll pop up. Worked very hard for that. And as I always end these shows, I believe in all of you. I believe in us. Um, whatever happens for you does affect me because we're all connected together. So I want all of us to be lifted up and doing what we want to be doing. We got here. We're over 50. We got here. Like we deserve to be doing what we want to be doing. That's what I want to say there. 50 Plus is out here every Tuesday. I'll be back giving another episode. Bye.